Do you remember the day I gave you my salary?
I gave you everything.
All of
12
it.
years of my life. Do you remember
Kweku's
that
voice
promise,
shook as
Ama?
he stood
No.
in Oma's
What do you
sleek
mean? I'm your
office,
brother.
looking at the woman he no longer recognized. You were crying. You said you couldn't afford business school. So I quit my job. I gave you everything I had saved. 12 years of my life, Oma. 12 years of work, gone. For you. She didn't even look at him. She was looking at her nails. And you promised me. You swore on Momo's life that you would never forget me. That you would come back for us. A pause. Heavy. Suffocating. Do you remember that promise, Oma? Finally, she turned to face him. But her eyes were cold. Empty. No. What do you mean, no? I'm your brother. I mean I don't know you. I've never met you. Around them, people stopped walking. They were staring. Listen. He reached out to touch her arm. Oma, please. Mama is dying. She's in the hospital right now and... She pulled away like his touch burned her. Security, she called out, her voice sharp as a blade. Get him out. As they dragged him away, Kweku looked back at his sister one last time. And something inside him broke. But what he didn't know was that this rejection would set off a chain of events that would destroy everything she built. And raise him higher than she ever dreamed. If this just hit you hard, if you're seeing yourself in this story right now, comment below and tell me, are you the one who forgot, or are you the one left behind? And where are you watching from? Because what happens next when Kweku finds out his sister is dying, it's going to change everything. Subscribe. You need to see this. 12 years earlier. A small compound in a village outside Accra, Ghana. The room was cramped. One bed for 3 people. Ama and Kweku slept on a woven mat on the floor while their mother, Mama Esai, took the bed. The walls were thin. You could hear the neighbors' radio through them. The chickens outside. The sound of life happening just outside their 4 walls. Ama was 20 years old, but her eyes looked older. She had been working since she was 14 at a small shop in the village market, selling cloth to women who haggled over every penny. She made almost nothing. Enough to eat. Not enough to dream. She sat on the mat now, her knees pulled up to her chest, reading a brochure she had picked up in town. The pages were worn from handling. She had read it so many times she could recite it. Ghana Institute of Business Excellence. Accredited. Graduates employed across West Africa. Tuition, 5,000 cedis. 5,000 cedis. She looked at the number like it was written in a foreign language. Mama Esai was outside, selling tomatoes at the market. She would come back with maybe 30 cedis today if she was lucky. At that rate, it would take her more than 4 years to save 5,000 cedis. And that was if she saved every single penny. Oma's chest felt tight. You're reading that thing again. Kweku appeared in the doorway. He was 18, with the kind of face that smiled easily even when things were hard. He was wearing a shirt that was too big for him, something he had borrowed from an older boy in the village. His hair was neat though. He always kept himself neat, even when they had nothing. It says here that if I finish this program, I can work in Lagos, Accra, even South Africa. I can make real money, Kweku. Kweku sat down beside his sister. He picked up the brochure and looked at it, though he couldn't really read it. His schooling had stopped when he was 14 because Mama couldn't afford to keep him in school anymore. 5,000 cedis, Oma said quietly. That's impossible. Kweku didn't say anything. He just handed the brochure back to her. I'm serious, Kweku. It's impossible. Unless I win the lottery or something. She laughed, but it came out broken. We don't even play the lottery. You'll figure it out, Kweku said. How? How will I figure it out? I work every day and I make nothing. You work every day and you make nothing. Mama works every day and we are still hungry half the time. Kweku stood up and walked to the small window. Outside, the sun was setting orange and pink over the village. He looked at his sister's reflection in the glass. Then I'll help you figure it out. How? Kweku, there's no way. I'm not asking you to. I got a job. Ama's head snapped up. What? Kweku turned around, and he was smiling, but his smile was shaking. I got a job. At the telecommunications office in town. They want me to start next week. Assistant manager. Real money, Ama. Real money. Ama jumped up and hugged him so hard they both nearly fell backward. Kweku. Kweku, that's, oh my God, you did it. You actually did it. He held his sister while she cried into his shoulder. Happy tears. The kind that felt rare. I told you, he said. You're going to be something great. I know it. I can feel it. That night, Mama Esai cried when Kweku told her. Happy tears. Grateful tears. She held his face in her hands and prayed over him. God will bless you, my son. He will bless your sacrifice. But Kweku didn't feel like he was sacrificing anything. He felt like he was finally doing something that meant something. 2 weeks later, he had received his first pay from the telecommunications office. It was more money than he had ever held in his hands at one time. He counted it twice to make sure it was real. Then he walked to where Ama was sitting, and he handed it to her. This is for your school, sister. This, and everything I make from now on, goes to you. You're going to finish that program. You're going to go to Lagos. And you're going to become the woman you're meant to be. Ama stared at the money in her hands. Kweku, no. This is your salary. Your future. My future is watching you become something great. That's my future. He squeezed her hand. I need you to promise me something, though. Ama looked up at him. Promise me that when you make it. When you're successful and rich and everything you dream of, promise me you won't forget where you came from. Promise me you won't forget about me. About Mama. About us. Ama stood up and pulled her brother into an embrace so tight it felt like she was trying to pour herself into him. I swear it, Kweku. On Mama's life, I swear it. I will never forget you. Never. You will always be my brother. Always. He kissed the top of her head. I know. I believe you. 6 months later. Ama stood in front of the Ghana Institute of Business Excellence building in Lagos. The sun was hitting the glass and steel structure, making it gleam. She had traveled on a bus for 8 hours, clutching a small bag with everything she owned and Kweku's sacrifice in her pocket. She was terrified. The registration office was cold and quiet. A woman behind a desk looked at her over her glasses. Name. Ama Mensa. The woman typed something into her computer. You're paid in full. Good. First class starts Monday. You'll need to find accommodation. The institute can provide a list of approved boarding houses. Ama nodded. She had planned for this. She had enough money left for 3 months of rent if she was careful. Very careful. The woman handed her a folder. Welcome to Jibe. Try not to fail out. That was it. Ama was officially a student. That night, she called home from an internet cafe. Kweku answered on the second ring. Ama. Ama, is that you? It's me. I'm here. I'm in Lagos. Kweku, it's real. It's all real. She could hear the smile in his voice even through the phone. I told you. I told you, sister. You're going to do amazing things. How is Mama? She's good. She's proud of you. We both are. After they hung up, Ama sat in that internet cafe for another hour, just letting it sink in. She had gotten out. She was really out. Back home, Kweku was working overtime at the telecommunications office. 12-hour shifts, sometimes 14. His hands would hurt by the end of the day. His back would be sore. But he didn't mind. Every cedis he earned, he sent to Ama. At the boarding house, Ama was struggling. Lagos was expensive. Food was expensive. Transportation was expensive. Everything was more than she thought it would be. She started working part-time at a restaurant near the institute, washing dishes and serving tables. She would go to class from 8 to 4, then work from 5 to midnight. She would come back to her tiny room and study for an hour before collapsing into bed. But she was doing it. She was actually doing it. Her classmates were different from her. Most of them came from money. They had nice laptops. Designer bags. They talked about their cars and their family businesses. They looked at Ama like she didn't belong. One girl, Zainab, was different though. Zainab was also from nothing. Her father was a carpenter, her mother was a trader. They had both worked their way up. Zainab recognized something in Ama. A hunger. A desperation to be more. "You're always in the library," Zainab said one day, sitting down next to her. "I have to be," Ama said without looking up from her books. "Why?" "Because if I'm not, I'll fail. And if I fail, I've wasted my brother's sacrifice." Zainab looked at her like she was trying to understand something. "What did your brother sacrifice?" Ama told her. About Kweku giving up his job. About the money. About the promise. Zainab listened without interrupting. "That's beautiful," she said when Ama finished. "That's real love." Ama didn't respond. She just went back to studying. But something shifted inside her. She made a silent promise to Kweku right there in that library. She would make it. She would honor what he had done. 2 years passed. Ama graduated top of her class. She had internships at 3 different companies. She had job offers before she even finished her final exams. She was recruited by a startup called Technova Solutions. They were looking for ambitious people. Ama was the most ambitious person they had ever seen. She moved into her first apartment. It was small but it was hers. She called Kweku immediately. "I got the job. I got the job, Kweku. I'm going to be a project manager." "Ama. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. I'm sending you money. Everything. You can stop working so hard. You can rest." But Kweku didn't stop working. He kept his job and he kept sending her money even though she was now making her own. "Save it," he would tell her when she asked him why. "You're building your future. Build it strong." By year 3 at Technova, Ama had been promoted twice. She was making real money now. The kind of money she had dreamed about. She sent money to Kweku. She sent money to Mama. She bought them a new house. A real house with electricity and running water and a real roof that didn't leak. She felt like she was flying. Then the promotions came faster. 6 months as a senior manager. 1 year as a director. And then, at 26 years old, Ama was offered the CEO position at a new venture that Technova was launching. It was called Ama Hub Solutions. It was perfect. It had her name in it. The first year was chaos. But Ama thrived in chaos. She made ruthless decisions. She fired people who couldn't keep up. She underbid competitors until they went out of business. She took credit for her team's ideas. She stepped on anyone who got in her way. And it worked. Ama Hub became the hottest startup in Lagos. Investors lined up to give her money. Magazines wanted to interview her. She was on billboards. She was a success story. She moved into a penthouse in Victoria Island. She bought a Range Rover. She got designer clothes. She went to exclusive clubs where other rich people went. Everything was perfect. Except, back home, Kweku would call sometimes. Less and less often. When he did, Ama found herself making excuses to get off the phone. I'm busy with a meeting, Kweku. Can I call you back? I'm heading into a conference. Mama needs me. Mama's fine, right? She's fine. Zainab noticed this shift. They were still friends, but Zainab was worried about her. You're changing, Zainab said one day over lunch. I'm not changing. I'm evolving. You're forgetting. Ama put down her fork. Forgetting what? Where you came from? Who helped you get here? Ama stood up from the table. Kweku helped me. And I'm grateful. But I did this. I built this. I'm not going to apologize for being successful. She picked up her bag. I have to go. I have a meeting. Zainab watched her walk away and felt sad for her. Ama was becoming exactly what Lagos wanted her to be. A shark. A girl with no roots and no loyalty. Meanwhile, Kweku was still at the telecommunications office. Still working long hours. He had been passed over for promotions because he didn't have the degree or the connections that the new managers had. His salary had stayed basically the same for 5 years. But he never complained when Ama called. How's business? He would ask. Booming. Ama Hub is becoming a household name. I'm so proud of you, Ama. So proud. He meant it too. Even though his own dreams were sitting in a box, collecting dust. Mama Esa was happy in the new house though. That made him happy. He would go home on weekends and sit with her, and she would talk about how proud she was of Ama. How her daughter had really made it. Kweku never mentioned to Mama how rarely Ama called anymore. How Ama had never invited him to visit her in Lagos. How she acted like she didn't know him when his old friends ran into her at the mall and tried to say hello. He just smiled and listened to Mama talk about Ama's success. He was happy for her. He really was. But somewhere deep inside, where he didn't let himself look, there was a part of him that was scared. Scared that she was forgetting. Scared that she was becoming someone different. Someone who no longer needed him. 3 years later. Ama's office was on the 23rd floor of a gleaming building in Victoria Island. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A view of Lagos that made you feel like you were on top of the world. Because she was. Ama Hub Solutions had become one of the most successful tech startups in West Africa. Ama was 29 years old and worth millions. She was featured in Forbes. She was invited to speak at conferences. She was the girl who had made it. She stood at her window now, looking down at the city, when her assistant knocked. Miss Mensah, there's someone here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment but he says it's urgent. He says he's your. Tell him I'm not available, Ama said without turning around. She knew who it was. She had known for the last 3 months that Kweku had been trying to reach her. His letters were still piling up in her mailbox. The ones she never read. His calls went to voicemail. The voicemails she never listened to. She had changed her number twice. But somehow he always found the old one. Miss Mensah, he's being very persistent. He says your mother is. I said I'm not available. There was a knock on her office door. If you're watching this right now and there's someone you've been ignoring, someone who believed in you, someone who gave you everything and you just left them behind, this next part is for you. What Ama does in the next few minutes will make you uncomfortable. It might make you angry. It might make you see yourself, and that's why you need to keep watching. Because the consequences are coming. And they are going to be brutal. Comment below, have you ever done this to someone? Be honest. Where are you watching from? And tell me what happened. Subscribe because you need to see what karma does next. When he got downstairs, he sat on a bench outside the building for an hour. Just sitting. Just staring at nothing. He wrote a letter that day. He poured everything into it. His hurt. His confusion. His desperation. Dear Ama, it started. He wrote about Mama being sick. About the medical bills. About how she kept asking for Ama. How she still believed that her daughter would come home and save the day. I'm not angry with you, he wrote. I just don't understand how you could forget. How you could become this person. The Ama I knew was kind. The Ama I knew would never do this. He left it with the security guard at the building. Please give this to Miss Mensah. It's very important. The security guard took it. He would throw it away later. Meanwhile, upstairs, Ama was meeting with a man named Dominic. Dominic was 36 years old. South African. Charming. Wealthy. He was an investor who had been trying to get a meeting with Ama for months. You're even more impressive in person, he said, shaking her hand. Thank you. Your investment proposal looked interesting. I'm interested in more than just business, Ama. She looked at him. He had nice teeth. Expensive cologne. The kind of confidence that comes from never having to worry about money. Are you now? I am. I think you're extraordinary. I think we could do extraordinary things together. By the end of the meeting, they had made dinner plans. At dinner, Dominic told her about his life. He had built businesses in South Africa, Botswana, Kenya. He was connected. He knew powerful people. He could help her expand Ama Hub across Africa. Maybe even internationally. You're too talented to just be in Lagos, he said. You should be global. Ama liked how that sounded. She liked how he made her feel. Like she was important. Like her ambition was beautiful instead of ugly. Like she was right to want everything. They started dating. He was attentive at first. He would send her flowers. He would take her to exclusive restaurants where other successful people went. He would introduce her to investors. He would tell her how much he believed in her vision. You're the smartest woman I've ever met, he would say. And Ama believed him. What she didn't know was that Dominic was recording their conversations. Copying her files. Meeting with her competitors. What she didn't know was that he was using her. But that would come later. For now, he was just the perfect distraction from the guilt that was starting to creep in. Because despite everything, despite her success and her money and her penthouse, Ama couldn't stop thinking about her brother's face in that elevator. She couldn't stop thinking about her promise. She couldn't stop thinking about Mama. So she drank more. She worked later. She surrounded herself with people who didn't know her before. People who only knew the CEO. The successful woman. The girl who had made it. Then one day, Zainab showed up at her office. They hadn't seen each other in almost a year. Zainab looked different. Or maybe Ama just hadn't noticed how tired Zainab looked. How genuine. How unlike everyone else around her. We need to talk, Zainab said. I'm busy. Ama, your mother is dying. Ama's hand froze over her keyboard. What? She had the surgery eventually. Your brother managed to get a loan from somewhere. But the surgery didn't go well. There were complications. The doctor said. Zainab swallowed hard. The doctor said she might not make it through the week. Ama felt something break inside her chest. But she didn't cry. She had forgotten how to cry. How do you know this? I go home sometimes. To visit. I saw your brother. I saw your mother in the hospital. Ama, she kept asking for you. Even when she was barely conscious, she was asking where you were. Ama turned away from Zainab. I need you to leave. Ama. I need you to leave my office. Zainab stood up. I don't recognize you anymore, she said quietly. I don't know who you are. After she left, Ama sat at her desk for a long time. She thought about calling Kweku. She thought about getting on a plane. She thought about going home. But the shame was too big. It was a wall between her and everything she had left behind. She had said such horrible things. She had denied him so publicly. How could she face him now? And so she did nothing. She told herself that her mother would be fine. People recovered from surgery all the time. Mama was strong. She would be fine. She threw herself into work instead. 2 weeks later, she was in a meeting when her phone buzzed. It was an unknown number from Ghana. She didn't answer. The message said, "She's gone. Mama passed away this morning. We buried her today. Ama, I'm sorry to tell you this way. I'm sorry she didn't get to say goodbye to you. But she never stopped loving you. She never stopped believing in you." Ama read the message 3 times. Then she deleted it. She went back to her meeting like nothing had happened. But something had broken inside her. Something fundamental. Later that night, she would sit alone in her penthouse and realize that she had lost everything that mattered while gaining everything that didn't. And there was no way to get it back. The next morning, she would wake up and tell herself that she was fine. That she was still on top of the world. But the view from the top was starting to feel very lonely. 6 months later. Ama was working late. Dominic had mentioned that there were some investors he wanted to introduce her to. Powerful people. People who could take Ama up to the next level. She was waiting for him in her office when her computer started acting strange. She got a notification. An email that wasn't meant for her. It was from one of her competitors to Dominic. The sabotage is working perfectly. Ama Hub system is down for the 3rd time this week. Their customers are leaving. Stock is dropping. Once the scandal hits the media, they won't recover. Ama's hands went numb. She started digging. She checked her servers. She found encryption she didn't recognize. She found folders she didn't create. She found emails that suggested Dominic had been systematically stealing her intellectual property and selling it to competitors. She tried to call him. His phone was off. She went to his apartment. He was gone. He had taken everything. When she checked her bank accounts, she found that access had been restricted. Her assets were being frozen. Her board was calling emergency meetings. Her investors were threatening lawsuits. Within 48 hours, everything she had built was crumbling. The media found out. They ran stories about how the young CEO had been fooled by a charming fraud. How she had let a man walk into her life and destroy her company. How she had been too focused on expansion to notice what was happening right under her nose. The headlines were brutal. Ama Hub CEOs fall, what went wrong? Dominic Mackay's, the con man who destroyed a startup. Ama Mensah's downfall, ambition blinds success. Her board fired her. Her investors sued her. Some of them suggested that she had been complicit in the fraud. That maybe she had known and helped. Within a month, Ama had lost her job, most of her money, her reputation, and her future. She moved out of the penthouse. She moved out of every nice place she had lived. She ended up in a tiny apartment in a poor neighborhood of Lagos. The kind of place she had sworn she would never live again. The kind of place her brother had never left. And then, Like her life wasn't already falling apart enough, she got sick. It started as a cough. A small thing. She didn't have money for a doctor, so she bought over-the-counter medicine at a pharmacy. The cough got worse. By the time she realized she might actually be dying, it was too late to afford real help. She lay in her tiny apartment, burning with fever, and she thought about her brother. She thought about how he had sacrificed everything for her. She thought about how when he needed her, she had turned him away. She thought about her mother, who had died while Ama was running a company that was built on emptiness. And she realized, finally, the terrible price of what she had done. But by then, it was too late to ask for forgiveness. Or was it? While Ama was falling, Kweku was rising. But nobody knew it yet. He was still working at the telecommunications office, still earning the same small salary, still sending money home when he could. The job that had once felt like a stepping stone to something bigger had become a dead end. He was 33 years old and he had nowhere to go. But there was something Kweku had always had that money couldn't buy. His hands. He was good at making things. Always had been. As a child, he would carve small wooden toys for the village kids. As a teenager, he fixed things around the house that other people would have thrown away. As an adult, he fixed broken furniture for his neighbors, asking for almost nothing in return. It was just what he did. In the evenings, after work, Kweku would go to a small workshop behind his house. It wasn't much. Just a shed with some old tools he had collected over the years. A workbench. Pieces of wood he salvaged from construction sites. He would spend hours there, working with his hands, creating beautiful things from nothing. A wooden chair. A carved box. A small table with intricate designs. He didn't sell them. He just made them because making them made him feel alive in a way that the telecommunications office never did. Then one day, a man came to his village. His name was Mr. Ose. He was wealthy. He owned luxury hotels and resorts across West Africa. He was in the village visiting his aging mother when he saw one of Kweku's pieces. It was a hand-carved wooden bed frame. Intricate patterns. Perfectly balanced. Beautiful. Mr. Ose had never seen anything like it. He asked around the village. Who made this? They told him about Kweku. He came to the workshop that evening. Kweku was working on a new piece when he walked in. Did you make this? Mr. Ose asked, running his hands over the wooden frame. Kweku looked up from his work. Yes, sir. How much do you want for it? Kweku thought about it. He had never sold anything before. He had no idea what it was worth. I made it for a couple in the village. They're getting married next month. I'll give you 5 times what they were going to pay you. Kweku's eyes widened. Sir, that's too much. It's not enough, Mr. Ose said. This is extraordinary work. This is world-class work. What's your name? Kweku. Kweku Mensah. Mr. Ose looked at him carefully, like he was evaluating something. Kweku, I own hotels and resorts. I employ designers, architects, craftspeople. I have never seen handmade furniture like this. Where did you learn to do this? I didn't learn it anywhere. I always knew how. Mr. Ose sat down on one of the wooden chairs in the workshop. How much do you make at your job? Kweku told him. Mr. Ose laughed. It wasn't a mean laugh. It was a laugh of disbelief. You're making masterpieces in a shed and working a dead-end job for that salary. That's a crime. He leaned forward. I have a proposal for you. I'm opening a new resort in Accra. It's going to be the most exclusive resort in West Africa. Only the wealthiest people. Politicians. Business leaders. Foreign investors. Kweku listened. I want you to design and create all the furniture for this resort. Every piece custom made. Every piece handcrafted. I'll pay you to do this full time. I'll give you a team of workers to help you. I'll give you a workshop. Everything you need. Kweku couldn't speak. The salary will be triple what you make now. And I'll pay you a percentage of the resort's profits. If the furniture is as impressive as this bed frame, the resort will be famous. And you'll become famous with it. I need to think about it, Kweku said. But they both knew he would say yes. 2 weeks later, Kweku quit the telecommunications office. His boss was shocked. You're leaving? For what? I'm going to work for myself. His boss laughed. You'll regret this. You'll come crawling back. But Kweku never came back. He moved to Accra. Mr. Osei set him up with a workshop bigger than anything he had ever imagined. He hired a team of skilled craftspeople. Kweku taught them his techniques. Together, they created furniture that was unlike anything the world had seen. And carved wooden pieces. Intricate designs that told stories. Pieces that made people cry because they were so beautiful. The resort opened 6 months later. It was called the Sanctuary. And it became famous almost immediately. Rich tourists from Europe and America flew to Ghana specifically to stay at the resort and see the furniture. Interior designers wanted to commission pieces from Kweku. Luxury hotels across Africa wanted his work. Within 2 years, Kweku was wealthy. Not Ama wealthy, but real wealth. The kind that came from doing something you loved and being brilliant at it. He used his money to build a school in his village. He used it to build a health center. He used it to hire young people from poor backgrounds and teach them the craft. He was known now. Not as a poor carpenter, but as Master Kweku. The artisan who had revolutionized furniture design in West Africa. Magazines wanted to interview him. He was invited to speak at business conferences. Other wealthy people wanted to meet him. And through it all, he never forgot about his sister. He would see articles about Oma Hub in the news. He would see pictures of Oma at fancy events. He would see her in magazines talking about her success. And he would feel proud. Despite everything, despite how she had treated him, he was proud of her. He didn't hate her. He had tried to hate her, but he couldn't quite manage it. Instead, he just felt sad. Sad that she had forgotten. Sad that she had become someone so different. One day, Zainab showed up at his workshop in Accra. They had stayed in touch over the years. Not close, but connected through their shared history. Kweku, I need to talk to you. She told him everything. About Oma's company collapsing. About Dominic. About the scandal. About how Oma had lost everything. She's alone now, Zainab said. She has nothing. And she's sick. Really sick. I'm worried she's dying. Kweku felt his heart stop. Where is she? Lagos. In a small apartment in Dansiman. I wanted to help her but she's too ashamed. She won't take anything from me. Kweku didn't need to hear anything else. He packed a bag. He left his workshop in his assistant's hands. He got on a bus to Lagos. When he found Oma's apartment, he just stood outside for a long time. The building was falling apart. Paint peeling. Broken windows. It looked like a place where hope came to die. He climbed the stairs. He could hear people arguing in other apartments. Someone crying. A baby screaming. Oma's door was on the 3rd floor. Room 307. He knocked softly. There was no answer. He knocked again, harder. Go away, a weak voice called from inside. Oma. It's Kweku. There was a long silence. Then he heard movement. Footsteps. The door opened just slightly. Ama looked like a ghost. She had lost weight. Her skin was grey. Her eyes were sunken. She looked like someone who had already given up on living. When she saw her brother, her face crumbled. Kweku. She tried to close the door but she didn't have the strength. He pushed it open gently. The apartment was dark and small. The bed was unmade. There were empty medicine bottles on the table. The air smelled like sickness. Kweku looked at his sister and felt his eyes burn with tears. But he didn't cry. He just moved into action. How long have you been like this? A few weeks. I didn't know how to call you. I didn't know if you would even want to see me. Kweku walked to the window and opened it. Fresh air poured in. You're going to the hospital. Kweku, I can't afford. I can. He turned to look at her. I can afford it, Ama. I'm wealthy now. I built something. Something beautiful. And I'm going to use it to save your life. Ama started to cry. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you. Kweku walked to her and pulled her into an embrace. She was so thin he was scared she might break. You're my sister. You've always been my sister. That's all that matters. He carried her to his car. He drove her to the best hospital in Lagos. He paid for the best doctors. He sat in her hospital room while they ran tests. The diagnosis was severe pneumonia with complications. If she had waited even a few more days, she would have died. She's going to recover, the doctor told Kweku. But she needs care. She needs rest. She needs someone to make sure she takes her medications. I'll be here, Kweku said. And he was. Every single day, he was there. He would sit in the chair beside her bed and tell her about his life. About the workshop. About the resort. About the school he built. About Master Kweku and all the things he had created. Ama would listen and cry. On the 5th day in the hospital, she finally spoke. Why are you doing this? After everything I did to you. Kweku took her hand. Because I gave you something 12 years ago, Ama. I gave you my job. My dreams. My sacrifice. And I would give it all again if I had to. But I know what you did. I know you denied me. I know you hurt me. I know you forgot our mother. I know all of it. He squeezed her hand. But I also know who you used to be. And I believe she's still in there somewhere. I believe she can come back. And I'm going to help you find her. Ama sobbed. I'm sorry, Kweku. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to make it right. You don't have to make it right. You just have to get better. That's all I'm asking. Just get better. 2 weeks later, Ama was strong enough to leave the hospital. Kweku brought her to his home. A beautiful house he had built on the outskirts of Accra. It had big windows and natural light. It had a garden. It had peace. This is your home now, he told her. For as long as you need it. Ama couldn't speak. She just stood in the middle of the living room and looked at all the beautiful things her brother had created. On the wall was a wooden frame. Inside was a picture of Ama, Kweku, and their mother. From 12 years ago, before everything changed. They were all smiling. Ama looked at it and finally understood what she had lost. And more importantly, she understood what she might still have. If she was willing to change. If she was willing to come home. That night, she sat with her brother on the porch of his house, watching the sunset. Tell me everything, she said. Tell me how you got here. Tell me how you became Master Kweku. And Kweku told her the whole story. About the workshop. About Mr. Ose. About his hands creating beauty instead of desperation. About how he had stayed true to who he was while she had tried to become someone else. When he finished, Ama looked at him. I was supposed to be your success story, Kweku. That was the plan. You sacrificed so I could rise. And you did. I rose. But I didn't do it right. I did it alone. I did it ruthlessly. I did it wrong. Kweku shook his head. Success without people who love you isn't success. It's just emptiness. You're learning that now. That's what matters. He put his arm around her. But it's not too late, Ama. You're going to recover. And then you're going to figure out who you want to be. Not who Lagos wanted you to be. Not who Dominic wanted you to be. Who you actually want to be. Ama leaned her head on her brother's shoulder. I want to be like you, she said quietly. I want to create something beautiful. Something that matters. Something that doesn't require me to destroy anyone. Kweku smiled. Then that's what you do. And for the first time in years, Ama felt something like hope. 6 months later, Ama stood in Kweku's workshop in Accra. She was learning to carve wood. Her hands were rough now. Calloused. They looked like the hands of someone who walked. Who created. Who built things instead of destroying them. Kweku was showing her how to shape a piece of mahogany. His hands moved with confidence and grace. Hands that had sacrificed everything and somehow ended up with everything that mattered. Feel the wood, he said. Listen to what it wants to become. Don't force it. Let it guide you. Ama tried to follow his instructions, but her hands were still clumsy. The wood split in the wrong place. She wanted to throw it down in frustration, but Kweku caught her hand. No. Look. Do you see what happened? She looked at the cracked wood. I ruined it. No. You learned something. You learned that forcing things doesn't work. The wood was telling you it didn't want to go that way. But you pushed anyway. He looked at her meaningfully. Kind of like your life, yeah. Ama felt the weight of that. She had been in Kweku's home for 4 months now. She had recovered from her illness. Her lungs had cleared. Her body had healed. But her spirit was still healing. That was the harder work. She had left Lagos. She had left behind the penthouse and the designer clothes and the luxury cars and the status. She had left behind the person she had tried so hard to become. And she was learning to become someone new. Someone better. Kweku, can I ask you something? Always. When you saw me in that hospital, when I was dying and you came to save me, weren't you angry? Don't you hate me? Kweku set down his tools and looked at his sister. I was angry. For a while. After you denied me at your office, I was angry for a long time. He walked to the window of the workshop. But anger is a poison, Ama. It only hurts the person drinking it. And I didn't want to drink it anymore. So I let it go. How did you let it go? By forgiving you. Not because you deserved it. But because I deserved to be free. Ama felt tears on her face. I don't know how to forgive myself. Then we'll start with that. We'll work on that together. That afternoon, Kweku took Ama to visit their mother's grave. It was in a small cemetery outside the village. The grave was well maintained. Flowers grew around it. There was a stone with their mother's name carved into it. Ama hadn't been to this place since her mother died. She hadn't let herself come. She knelt down in front of the grave and put her hands on the earth. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm so sorry I wasn't here. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you needed me. I'm sorry I forgot. She sobbed into the dirt. Kweku stood behind her, giving her space to grieve. She never stopped believing in you, he said quietly. Even when you forgot her. Even when you stopped calling. Even when she was dying and you didn't come. She still believed that you were going to be something great. She never doubted you. Ama looked up at her brother. I've been thinking about what you said. About not forcing things. About listening to what the wood is telling you. Yeah. I think the universe has been telling me things for a long time. And I haven't been listening. I've been pushing. I've been forcing. And every time I forced, things broke. She stood up and wiped her face. I'm going to start listening. 1 year later, Ama had a new job. She was working with Kweku, not as his equal yet, but as his student. Learning the craft. Learning to create instead of destroy. But she was also doing something else. She had started a foundation called Second Chances. It was designed to help young people from poor backgrounds get access to education and opportunities. It was run by people who had themselves risen from nothing. Ama used what was left of her money to start it. Kweku contributed too. Soon, other successful people who had heard their story started contributing. Within a year, the foundation had sent 50 young people to university. It had provided mentorship and support to hundreds more. Ama was doing meaningful work. Work that actually mattered. One day, a reporter from a major business magazine came to interview her. Ama Mensa, the reporter said. From the CEO of a failed startup to running a foundation. That's quite a journey. Ama smiled. It was a real smile. Not the fake smile she used to do. I've learned that success isn't about what you accumulate. It's about what you contribute. I accumulated a lot and it all burned away. But when I started contributing, I finally felt like I had something real. The reporter asked about Kweku. Your brother saved your life. How does that make you feel? Ama looked at Kweku, who was working in the background, carving a piece of wood for a client. It makes me feel like I was given a second chance that I didn't deserve. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to deserve it. The article came out 2 weeks later. The Fall and Rise of Ama Mensa, How a Failed CEO Found Redemption. It went viral. Not because of the scandal this time, but because of the redemption. Because of the real, messy, human story of someone who had lost everything and found the one thing that actually mattered. Her story inspired people. People started reaching out to Ama. People who had also forgotten someone. People who had also been forgotten. People who were looking for a way back. Ama responded to every single message. 2 years after Kweku found her in that tiny apartment, Ama and Kweku stood together in front of their mother's house in the village. It was a house Kweku had paid for, years ago, when he first started becoming successful. The house Mama had lived in when she died. Now Kweku and Ama had decided to turn it into something new. A school. A place where young people from the village could learn carpentry, woodworking, craftsmanship. A place where they could learn not just a trade, but a value system. How to create beautiful things. How to contribute to the world instead of taking from it. The opening ceremony was simple. Just the village people. Ama and Kweku. A few of the people who had helped them along the way. Zainab was there, standing beside them. I told you, Zainab said to Ama. I told you that you were becoming someone you didn't recognize. And you were. But you found your way back. Ama hugged her old friend. I would have died if you hadn't told Kweku. I would have just given up and died. That's why we need people like your brother. People who don't give up on us even when we give up on ourselves. During the opening, Kweku gave a speech. My mother used to say that God gives everyone 2 hands and 1 heart. The hands are for creating. The heart is for loving. Most of us get confused. We use our hands to take and our heart to hide. But if we're lucky, we get a second chance. If we're wise, we use that second chance to get it right. He looked at Ama. My sister forgot. She forgot where she came from. She forgot who had helped her. She forgot what mattered. But she had a second chance. And she's using it wisely now. Ama cried. I want to say something, she said, standing up. Everyone turned to look at her. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that I deserved what happened to me. I did. I stepped on people to get ahead. I forgot the people who loved me. I let shame paralyze me instead of letting love save me. She looked around at the village people who had known her as a child. But I'm asking you to learn from my mistakes. Don't wait until you've lost everything to remember what matters. Don't wait until you're dying in a small room to reach out to the person who sacrificed for you. Don't let pride build a wall between you and the people you love. She took her brother's hand. This man gave up his entire future for me. And when I treated him like trash, he still saved my life. That's not love. That's grace. And grace is the most powerful force in the universe. That evening, Ama and Kweku sat together on the porch of their mother's house, now their school. The sun was setting over the village just like it had 12 years ago. Do you remember the wooden box? Kweku asked. Ama smiled. She did remember. Kweku had given it to her the day before, finally, after all these years. Inside was the letter he had written to her all those years ago. The letter to future Ama. Dear sister, when you rise to the top, remember that the view is only beautiful if you have people to share it with. She had read it 100 times since then. I was so wrong, Ama said. The view from the top was the loneliest place I've ever been. But you know better now. I do. I know that success without love is just an empty building. No matter how tall it is, no matter how beautiful it looks from the outside, it's empty inside. Kweku put his arm around his sister. I'm proud of you, Ama. Not for what you lost, but for what you chose to do with the loss. Ama leaned her head on her brother's shoulder. I'm proud of you too. For not giving up on me. For believing that I could change. For showing me that real success looks like this. She gestured around at the village. At the school. At the simple, honest, beautiful life they had created. Yeah. Real success looks like coming home. If you're watching this right now and your chest is tight, if you're seeing yourself in Ama's story, if there's someone you've been avoiding because of shame, because of guilt, because of pride. I need you to know something. It's not too late. Whatever you did. However badly you messed up. However far you've drifted from the people who love you. It's not too late to come back. But you have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to let go of who you were trying to be and become who you actually are. And you have to do it now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. Because Ama was saved by her brother's grace. But what if Kweku hadn't found her that day? What if she had waited just a little longer to reach out? She would have died alone. In a small room. Surrounded by nothing but regret. Don't let that be you. Comment right now. Tell me, is there someone you need to reach out to? Someone you've been avoiding? Someone you've hurt? Don't tell me their name. Just say yes or no. And if you say yes, I want you to promise yourself right here, right now, that you're going to reach out to them today. Not tomorrow. Today. Because life is short. And the people we love are precious. And we don't always get second chances. Thank you for watching the story of Ama and Kweku. If this story touched you, share it. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Share it with someone who's been waiting for you to come home. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Because there are more stories like this. Stories about redemption. Stories about second chances. Stories about what happens when we finally decide to come home. This has been African Folktale by Susan, where every story teaches you something about being human. Remember, success without love is just an empty building. But love without success, that's a home. Come home.